It was never in Loretta Lynn's nature to keep her mouth shut. From the daughter of coal miner to the nobility of country music, she never held back when it came to telling the truth, whether it was on stage, off stage, or especially when someone rubbed her the wrong way. She sung about guys who cheated on their wives, ladies who were envious of their partners, and harsh realities long before Nashville had the courage to follow her lead. She was not concerned with being a ladylike person. She placed a high value on being truthful. Those tunes by Loretta were more than just catchy. The statements were confessions, which were unvarnished, raw, and frequently contentious. When others choose to remain silent, she spoke up against issues such as class shame, marital violence, and birth control. Her fearlessness, on the other hand, made her adversaries just as quickly as it won her supporters. On the other hand, a memory that was like a steel trap was hiding beneath that furious voice and burning passion. Loretta was very forgiving, but she also never forgot. She finally let go the names that she had kept bottled up for decades. And she did so as she became 90 years old, surrounded by a legacy that could not be duplicated. Her respect was never gained by the artists who crossed her, challenged her, or just did not deserve it. This is the list that nobody anticipated she would give out. In addition, it all begins with the woman who previously posed a challenge to her crown. Tammy Wynette, the queen who poses a threat. Their voices helped define a generation, and they were known as the Golden Girls of country music. However, beneath the gowns, wigs, and smiles that were broadcast on television was a competition that was as icy as a winter in Tennessee. Because of her graceful melodies and tragic beauty, Tammy Wynette was the favorite of every record label. Yet Loretta was able to see through it. Rather than relying on grit, she believed that Tammy's fame was founded on image. Tammy, in Loretta's opinion, was a good example of how the entertainment industry should portray a female celebrity. Sensitive, well-mannered, and always with a gentle voice. Loretta, on the other hand, had fought her way up from Butcher Holler, with little more than a beaten-up guitar and a great deal of determination. Her songs were not solely about suffering. That was her life. That disparity caused a rift between them that never really went away and never really healed. At one point, Loretta laughed. "I never required the support of a man in my life. He was instructed to move." Without a question, it was a barb, and many people believed that it was directed specifically at Tammy's most successful single, "Stand by Your Man." It was not a coincidence that that quote was delivered at that particular moment. There was a lot of effort put in by the producers behind the scenes to encourage them to collaborate on a duet album. Imagine all of the publicity, sales, and headlines that would have been generated if Loretta refused to let it happen. You may compare it to oil and water. According to reports, she informed her manager, "We might sell records, but we'd never survive rehearsals." Fans were unaware of the fact that their hatred had been simmering beneath the surface for years, peppered by tense run-ins at award shows, cold radio interviews, and backhanded compliments that were thrown like grenades during press junkets. There was an attempt made by the industry to pair them up in duets. It never, ever took place. And what is the true reason? Loretta once confessed in A Close Friend, "She's sweet as pie on camera, but cold as ice backstage." Then in 1974, there was a shared dressing room encounter that elevated the tension into outright enmity between the two of them. A man named Conway Twitty, who claimed an excessive amount of credit. Together, they were a fan favorite. Songs, such as Louisiana Woman and Mississippi Man, helped them become the dream duet of country music. In addition to being sassy and provocative, they are pouring with chemistry. A minefield of damaged egos and developing resentments was what the dream was like off camera, but it was a minefield nonetheless. Conway Twitty was poised, polished, and possessed a strong desire to succeed. Additionally, Loretta observed something. Every time they were honored with a prize, the media referred to it as his victory. People referred to him as the genius and the hitmaker. Loretta, who had also created her own hits, withstood storms and reinvented country music. With her raw honesty, couldn't help but feel forgotten despite the fact that she was acclaimed for being his perfect fit. She once snapped, "They always put the man first," and she was right. Even while he was following you, it was impossible to deny the link between them. When rumors of an emotional romance began to circulate in Nashville, it was impossible to deny that it was true. They were able to laugh it off, but Doolittle, Loretta's husband, did not understand. There were reports that he declined to attend concerts that were being performed by Conway. And despite the fact that nothing was ever confirmed, viewers noticed that there was lingering eye contact and that there was hand-holding that went on for a considerable amount of time. However, very shortly, the appreciation transformed into tension. Conway began to push their sound into a more glossy and commercial realm as their success skyrocketed. In doing so, he softened the edge that Loretta had established her career on. The woman fought back. Someone once told her that he wanted the music to be nice, but I wanted them to be genuine. This conflict over vision put a strain on their collaborative creative process. From behind the scenes, the situation deteriorated. According to the allegations, Conway began arriving late to rehearsals, making changes to set lists without informing Loretta, and accepting interview requests on his own, even when the spotlight was supposed to be shared. In 1979, the tour was where the real breaking point occurred. During the backstage portion of a play in Atlanta, Conway made a remark that was intended to be humorous to a young reporter. With her age, she still managed to get it, although they were not unkind. The words struck like a blow to the face. Loretta was aware of it, but remained silent. When the time came for her to be in line that evening, she remained hidden behind the curtain. In the meantime, the band continued to play, the audience continued to shout, and Conway remained on stage by himself, waiting. Olivia Newton-John might be described as the pop princess who swept the nation. In the middle of the 1970s, Loretta Lynn watched in surprise as a young pop singer from Australia stole the crown for Female Vocalist of the Year at the Country Music Association of the United States. To the majority of people, it was an indication that country music was venturing into new territories. But for Loretta, it was a blow to the face. Olivia Newton-John was stunning, gentle-mannered, and put together to the highest possible standard. As far as Loretta was concerned, her sound was anything but country because her voice was smooth, her appearance was flawless, and her appearance was flawless. The red carpet, on the other hand, was stretched out in Nashville. Over and over. Again, Olivia was played on the radio. Praising was poured upon award shows. The covers of magazines proclaimed her to be the future of country music. Every phrase caused Loretta to itch. The women who sang with anguish in their throats and grit in their bones were the ones who gave birth to country music, according to Loretta. Country music got its start in the backyard. As far as Loretta was concerned, Olivia had skipped the part when she paid the dues. When she was working, she once whispered under her breath, "I worked in coal dust." Light gels were her area of expertise. The reason for the resentment was not solely due to the music. What Olivia stood for was the focus of the action. A move toward commercial polish within the sector. It is a departure from the truth and the twang. Loretta witnessed the transformation of her cherished genre into a product that was promoted, packaged, and sold to others who were lacking an understanding of its origins. As soon as Loretta found out that Olivia would be honored once more, she famously declined to attend a certain Country Music Association event. She explained that she had a conflict with her schedule when she was questioned why. However, it is said that she confided in her manager, "I ain't clapping for no pop star playing cowboy." And when Olivia gave a cheery interview in which she claimed that she wanted to assist in bringing country music into the mainstream, Loretta didn't hold back. Privately, she stated, "We do not require assistance. It was not a matter of envy when we said, we need respect." Authenticity was the subject at hand. Over the course of several years, Loretta had fought to be heard in a field that desired for her to remain silent. At this point, they were presenting crowns to newcomers who had not experienced the battle themselves. Due to the fact that the artist who caused her the most pain was not a stranger, even that betrayal did not cut as deeply as the one that came after it. She was a member of the family, fetus and all. In addition, she would leave Loretta more hurt than any award she had ever been denied could possibly be. She was unable to put her faith in Crystal Gayle, her sister. Crossover success, long hair, and a pop-influenced aesthetic. On account of the fact that Crystal Gayle was everything that Loretta was not, this became an issue that none of them could escape. Their relationship was never a picture of perfection, despite the fact that they were sisters. Loretta had fought her way through a male-dominated profession, confronted individuals who were critical of her, and sung her truth without making any concessions. Crystal, on the other hand, appeared to have smoothly transitioned into stardom. Her voice was smooth, her appearance was refined, and her appeal was poised to transcend over into other genres. On the other hand, Crystal was dressed in gowns and gloss, while Loretta wore boots and fringe. The music business was in a frenzy when Crystal reached the pinnacle of success with her song, "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue." The term "new face" of female country was used to describe her. When Loretta was seeing the action from the sidelines, she did not conceal her emotions. She revealed in a friend that she had never had to worry about life. Before she could proceed, she did not have to crawl in the muck. The two had always been in a state of tension with one another. There were subtle barbs, whispered comparisons, and moments of chilly distancing at family functions. Nevertheless, things worsened when Crystal declined to attend a star-studded celebration for Loretta's 60th birthday. Her team cited scheduling conflicts as the reason, but Loretta did not believe them. She experienced the absence as if it were a knife thrust into her heart, especially considering that every other country icon was present to pay tribute to her. Loretta, however, refrained from speaking. That was her way of doing things. Pride comes first, followed by grief. However, the moment that finally broke the quiet occurred during a joint interview that was shown on television a few years later. The interviewer inquired about the significance of Loretta to Crystal's professional life. After a little pause, she smiled pleasantly and then responded, "She was influential." Her response was a single word, a dry and distant word. There are no tales, feelings, or signs of thankfulness. After that, Loretta never again agreed to make a joint appearance, despite the fact that she maintained her composure during the interview. Not only did she never bring it up, but she also never did forget about it. And that kind of quiet wrath, the kind that builds slowly and settles deep, would come screaming back when an outlaw legend that she had once trusted took things one step too far out of bounds. It was Merle Haggard, the drinking companion who went beyond his limits. They began as allies at the beginning. Both Loretta and Merle possessed the same stubbornness, having a poor upbringing, having a harsh voice, and having harder edges. Each had been honed by life, and the only thing that had softened them was their music. They enjoyed each other's company, shared festival stages, and even raised a glass to the fact that they had made it through the arduous grind of the industry. One of the few male artists that Loretta thought fully understood her was Merle. In many ways, Merle was one of those few. Merle, on the other hand, had a way of making people angry, particularly those whom he liked. He exhibited a lack of predictability, was arrogant, and was unrepentantly stubborn. During a party, Loretta once made a joke that went something like this: "If he wasn't drunk, he was high. If he wasn't high, he was writing a song about being drunk." There was laughter from everyone, including Merle. In contrast, Merle reversed his position during a live radio interview in the early 1980s, when the cameras were rolling and the interview was occurring. "Loretta has been playing the poor girl act for far too long. We get it. Coal dust and babies. What else you got?" he remarked with a smirk on his face. This statement struck a chord deep within. A tense laughter could be heard from the crowd, but Loretta did not grin. There was a heightened level of tension behind closed doors. Loretta had contacted me with a suggestion for a duet that she had. The relationship between faith and addiction is both harsh and redemptive. She did not consider it to be merely another radio hit. It was quite personal. Merle dismissed it as unnecessary, referring to it as church lady stuff. It was not simply a difference in artistic approach. The blow was like a blow to the face. Rather than being about show, Loretta's songs were about surviving. Through her scars, she wrote. She received the impression that Merle had evolved into more of a performer than a confessor by that point. This dichotomy continued to chew at her until she eventually aired her frustrations to her band, saying, "He wants pain in his songs, but laughs at mine." Not only did he respond with a no, but he also appeared to be uninterested in comprehending the situation. Despite the fact that she was telling the truth, he dismissed her account as if it were a work of fiction. The sound of his mocking, nonchalant laughter reverberated in her ears for a number of years until a new form of danger appeared on the scene. Youthful, more glossy, and, in Loretta's opinion, significantly more hazardous. Reba McEntire, the rising star who failed to live up to her expectations. In the 1980s, there was a shift in country music. It became more sparkly, flashier, and louder. The days of unvarnished recordings and ballads from the countryside are nowhere to be found. At this point, it was all about performing in arenas, choreographing performances, and perfecting everything. Reba McEntire was the only celebrity who surfed the wave stronger and faster than everyone else. There was no way that Nashville could get enough of Reba since she possessed the voice, the charisma, and the marketing team. Nevertheless, Reba was more than simply the new kid on the block in Loretta's eyes. The beginning of the end was revealed in her. Loretta shared with a friend that she arrived like a raging storm. But before you can do it, you have to walk through the rain. She had made her payment, Loretta. Every night that she was away from her children, every shady promoter, and every stage that was covered in dust. Reba, on the other hand, gave off the impression of being a product that had been meticulously selected and handled by the studio, serving as a representative of the new era of country music. The true animosity, however, started when a prestigious music publication proclaimed Reba to be the new queen of country music. Few months after Loretta had stated that she would be releasing a new album, the headline appeared in bright red, "Letters." In spite of the fact that she had not yet retired, she was already being replaced. Afterward, the time that put an end to it arrived. Reba entered the stage at a televised awards presentation and performed a rendition of one of Loretta's most famous songs, "A Smile for a Smile, Each Note for a Note." However, the woman who is responsible for making that song famous was not introduced, mentioned, or acknowledged in any way. With her arms crossed and her body immobile, Loretta sat in the front row. Backstage, there were some who reported that her countenance did not change at any point, but the ultimate betrayal took place away from the public eye. According to reports, Reba walked right by Loretta following the performance, which took place backstage. Not even a thank you was offered, let alone eye contact or a handshake. Yes, that was it. After that, Loretta made it clear that she would not make any public comments about Reba. Nothing but stillness, not praise, not criticism, nothing. Moreover, for someone as talkative as Loretta, that quiet conveyed a great deal of information. Even though there was a lot of hurt and bitterness from rivals and emerging stars, there was one wound that remained open for a longer period of time than the others, due to the fact that the individual who caused her the most pain was not a rival.